fills his eyes, but all tears are shown. In morbid states, he just lies there alone, tearing out nightmares and wanting to die, taking out the one who fights with his mind. Battle's still going and scars show the pain. Flesh is still withered and blood flows like rain. Vultures still waiting to feast on your flesh, wanting to help them, they won't get no rest. Look through your window, they're deep in the past. Once was a hunter and now haunted last. Now he must flee to the kingdom of death, or he'll fade to black and feel icy dread. Fade to black, fade to black, fade to black. Living on his still, he weaves through his rhyme, praying for peace, will he solve it in time? Begging for mercy from his sacred saint, he sees the scars that brought him all his pain. Hunter's own children have now set him free. His guiding faith now has answered his plea, regaining its title, destructoid wheel, preparing for battle so his blood won't spill. Look through the window, dig deep in the past. Once was the hunter, is haunted at last. Now he must lead to the kingdom of death, or he'll fade to black and feel icy dread.
Hi guys, we just listened to the song Fade to Black by Incursion, a great lyric video made by No Remorse Records. We're going to talk to Maxx Havick from Incursion. Hi Max, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm fine, man. Just this COVID thing, but other than that, it's everything okay. And let me tell you something that I have to be honest with you, because I didn't know this before I was researching for this interview. But Incursion was formed in 1982. Is it right?
That is correct. We were yes, it was. We were a band from 82 to 86 in Miami, Florida, and we had a singer, but we didn't really ever get the pieces together properly but we had like all these songs were written back then. Like everything on The Hunter was songs from 82 to 86. And we just never really had the right singer, or there was just we were being in Miami at the time. There really wasn't a huge scene, with the exception of Nasty Savage and later the Drills, and some more punk bands that came out of the scene. So we didn't really have the pool of talent that we could draw from. So we sort of fizzled and went our separate ways. But we got back together in 2018 just to like jam, really. And it sort of was like, we should do this. And we put it together. We actually found Steve, the singer, Steve Sampson, and it just felt pretty good. And so that's kind of the reason why we're back.
This was actually the next question, is what made you decide to come back in 2018 after this long period of inactivity? And also, who is in the band now?
Yeah, so the original members are myself, Michael Lashinsky, and Buddy Norris. And during the time, we were a four-piece, and I played bass, but I was always sort of like a guitar player playing bass. So we knew Stone James, and he got turned on to us, and so he's playing bass, and I could move back to being second guitar like I had originally, like what our original plan was. And we met Steve. I'd known Steve for a handful of years, and he was in another band called 440. And one day I was just sort of like, wow, if we could find a singer, this could be cool. So I called him up one day, and he was like, he heard the songs, and he's like, I'm in. And it sort of came together like that. And we spent a year, just for me, because I hadn't been playing consistently during all that time. So I wanted to get my chops up. So I spent about a little under a year getting like my chops back together, and we recorded, and what you hear is what we did, during those recording sessions. But that was kind of it. We sort of, it really was a chance jam, because we were all going to be in the same, I'm now in Nashville, and we all ended up in Miami, and we were just like, let's just jam. Let's hang out and jam for our sake. And songs still, I thought, held some weight. So I just felt that, we had the opportunity, and so we took it.
That's great. We see many stories of bands that were active during the 80s, and they went the separate ways, and now they return. Especially this year, we had like many returns. Like we have the Chuck Berry's new album, and also the Hitman new album. Glacier, all bands from the United States coming back. And now we have Incursion. This year, after resuming in 2018, this year you released the EP, The Hunter. How was the reception by the fans, by the metalheads?
I gotta say, I thought we had something, but the response has been fairly like just overwhelming, because we never. I didn't expect this kind of response. I'm just pretty surprised, and really, like, I know everybody comes on and talks to you and says that you were very instrumental in making, even putting us in a situation, but it really was your site and the response from the people there that got the attention of No Remorse and got the attention to even get to this place. So it's been really like, I don't want to say shocking, but it's been really, it's been well received, and it's just been, we've just been really grateful to have the opportunity to play again. And we have, you know, we have a lot more material, so we're really excited about the about what's happening, going to be down the road. And again, salute.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I was recommended directly the band Incursion or if I saw someone posting, but it was actually someone from Brazil. I remember that, but I don't know who it was.
I think it's probably the guys from Hellgun. It might have been the guys from Hellgun, because they were the first people to reach out to us. And the singer of that band was just he reached out and said you guys were, thought we were really good. So I got to give a lot of respect and acknowledgement to them. And also, I think the guys in Hitman had something to do with introducing us to No Remorse.
Oh, I didn't know that. We're going to talk about this soon, but now I think it's time for us to listen to the Hunter prologue and the first real song of the album, of the EP, Warrior of Destruction.
To rule and never to serve. Not even Mother Nature can stop his sinful blade. He sabotages all of mankind, infiltrating thoughts in their minds. Being the unrelying outcast with a dominated mastery, he builds in himself the worship of only one. He is the image of all that is evil. Thundering force, preordained to be king and the chosen hunter.
wipes his blade. He meets the madman, no mercy in his veins. The victim has power, but he fights for his life. The destructor devours, the victim demise. Warrior of destruction, evil from his hunter. Pestilence flows the blood. The angels cry
I shared the EP on the channel, and it made it to the list of most viewed albums in July. And now it has got over 13,000 views and lots of positive comments. How does it make you feel when you think about what you went through during the 80s with the band, and now you come back after this long time and you get like this big reaction?
It's satisfying and humbling, to say the least. I think as of this morning, it's actually even it's getting close to 14,000 views, and like I think the first month in July, I think it was like 9,000 views or something crazy like that, and it was just sort of like, wow, it's like I knew that, like I thought it was the record that I wanted to make back then. And it was sort of like we were sort of frustrated that we couldn't put it together. I mean, we went through a search to find a singer back in the 80s, and it just ended up being, futile. It was really like we really thought if we got it on your site and like, even a couple of thousand people heard it, that would have been like a success, but then when it started taking off and people and the comments and, the comments are all pretty positive, like very, very positive. It was just sort of like, wow, this is cool. Like, and, and you appreciate it because it doesn't, I think it feels authentic, and we didn't rework any of the songs, so the songs were the songs as they were written. So we felt that it's just exciting. It's just hard to describe how grateful we are.
Yeah, I'm grateful that I was able to help as well, and to have a new old band now releasing albums for the future, because you have a deal with No Remorse Records.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are announcing this to the world. And so can you give us any detail? How did you guys get in touch with No Remorse? They showed any interest? How did it happen?
When the band dissolved, I'd moved to New York, and I'd met the guys in Hitman, especially Dirk Kennedy, and we just always remained friends. And I sent it to him. And I said, "Hey, I sent this to Chris, and I sent it to No Remorse a while back, but I don't know if they'd had a chance to listen to it. Can you just get him to listen?" And he said he would pass it along, and then I sent and then I resent it to the guys at No Remorse, and then they initially passed. Again, we had a formal pass from them because we had sent it to everybody right when we started getting some momentum on your channel. I mean, I sent it to everybody, and there were a few people that were interested. Namely, Bart Gabriel was very kind to us and gave us a lot of positive feedback, as well as the guys at Underground Metal in Germany. They were both really interested, but we were really interested in having physical release on vinyl as well as CD. Initially, Chris sort of passed, and then he sort of circled back to us and said, the more I listen to it, the more I like it, and it's growing on me. And he said, I'd like to work something out. And we were able to figure out how to make this all work. And we are going to be doing our full length, hopefully later in the year or the beginning of next year, depending on COVID world, on how that plays itself out. But he was very, very, I think he believed that the band had something in the tank, and we're kind of a little bit different, just because it's not us an interpretation of where we're at now. It's kind of what was happening, what we were writing as all these things were going on. So, like, I know that people have commented, like, there's been some references to like early Metallica and Maiden and Priest and stuff, but like, I was really just a big Kiss, like in 1982, where it's a year after Metallica formed. I mean, we obviously heard, we actually heard, we knew Kill 'Em All and No Life to Leather demo, and it did change some things, but we really, that's really kind of how I write. And, like, as much as, there's some references to Am I Evil in the beginning, but it's really like Jacob's Ladder and like Rush, Jacob's Ladder and Kiss. I was really more influenced by like early Rush and Kiss, and Metallica, came later, but it was really, we were all listening to punk rock and we were listening to a lot of the same stuff, but I was really more into like, Scorpions, Priest, Maiden, Rush, Anvil, Raven, and that sort of stuff. So I was drawing, I was being inspired by those guys, and more so than, just trying to, do what Metallica was doing.
Yeah, I think that at that time, it was more like you were listening to the same things, you had the same influence, so you would sound similar, but not influencing each other.
Correct.
It's like it's like I see, and I can only imagine how important it is to you to have like being from that time to have the vinyl deal.
Yeah,
because I think
that was very, very important. That was the linchpin of the deal with No Remorse, was being able to have it out on vinyl. So I'm really excited by that.
Okay, now we are going to listen to the song Guiding Fate, and then after that we go to discuss more the deal with No Remorse and talk about other things as well. what I gather from No Remorse is that you have the deal to release the EP, The Hunter, an official No Remorse release, and then for a full length next year. Now that you have this record deal, how are you dealing with the COVID-19 situation in terms of wanting to play live?
Well, it is really frustrating that we're not able to play live right now. I mean, it's a long time coming for us to get on stage again. So it is bittersweet that this is happening now, as opposed to, a year ago. Like if we were like literally like 6 months, or if we put it out 6 months earlier, we could have at least had like a handful of shows. But it is very, very frustrating to not be able to perform these songs for people. And hopefully 2021, the world will get a little bit back to the live world, so we can do some shows.
And were you playing live between 2018 and this year?
We haven't played live yet, but that was what we were. I mean, our plan was we were gonna, obviously have a release party and do some shows once we had the release sorted out, once we had the record out. But the world had other ideas, and COVID has really put everybody on hold.
It's going to be over someday. I hope soon.
Yes.
I'm still curious about after you came back with the band in 2018. You didn't play any live shows, and then you recorded the EP, released the EP. The reaction was great. Then you get the record deal. But when did you decide, like, let's do it? This time we're going to make it. We're going to have a CD deal or vinyl deal, and we're going to continue releasing music.
Well, I think the reaction was, the reaction to it sort of gave us the inspiration to try and get like a deal, whether it be a licensing deal or like a full record deal. We just thought that if there was this sort of reaction to it, we should at least explore the opportunity. And we did, and we found a home for it. And the guys at No Remorse were really like excited. And so, we said, just like, we actually have enough material for another 2 albums. So we're going to have the opportunity to record all the old stuff, and then hopefully we'll write new stuff, and people will, still be supportive of what happens when we write new stuff. Because I think we're just going to see what happens, and not really try and force it. I think if the fans who appreciated the EP, I think they're going to really like the album, because there's some, I'm biased, but I think there's some really cool songs that we have that I really can't wait for you guys to hear.
I was going to ask you if any of the songs on the EP were from the time between 82 and 86, but you answered before I could ask. But now you're telling me that you have like old songs enough for 2 albums.
Yeah, we played a lot. When we played a lot, and we played a lot, and we wrote a lot. So we have, hopefully it'll be appreciated. It is very much it is very much from the era, but we think that we have a unique twist on it. And now that we have like a singer like Steve, it really presents itself well.
If someone didn't know Incursion before this interview, they do now because we have been listening to some of the songs. What bands do you say? Could you say that appeal for people who like Incursion? Like, if you like this band, you should listen to us.
I think if you like Jagdpanzer, if you like early Jagdpanzer, or you'll like us. I think if you like Merciful Fate, you'll really like us. If you like Anvil and Raven, you'll like us. I think, obviously if you like the Big Four, you're gonna like us. But even newer bands, if you like Riot City or Savage Blood, I think you'll really like us. And obviously Hellgun. Like, if you're a Hellgun fan, you should check us out. I just, and even if you like bands like Candlemass, I think there's a place. I think for fans of all those bands, you'll really like us.
Okay, so let me ask you about this, because you talked about a lot of newer bands as well. So you're following the day-to-day of heavy metal. So as someone who was in a band active during the golden years of heavy metal, how do you see this resurgence of the genre compared to what it was in the 90s?
Well, I think in the 80s, it was all being, we were all like just trying to figure some stuff out and carve a place out from what was happening. And I think what's happening now is, I think for the kids who grew up, who's, obviously, like, whose parents were listening to this, they sort of, I think the current bands are just an answer to, like, there's a certain wave of things that are happening that, I think things are just as heavy, but I just think that because we've, the new wave of traditional heavy metal bands are sort of more focused on, like, the vocals, where, the vocals aren't always like these death growls or interspersed with singing and that growling stuff. I think there's a place for people who really like heavy stuff, but it doesn't need to be like brutal. I think it can be heavy without all of that, the death metal influence, and I think that, I as much as I like some of those bands, like, I'm a big Slipknot fan, and I like System and Deftones and stuff. I also miss bands that were like Maiden and Priest and Scorpions, who had a different scope of what they were influenced by, and I just think that there's not everything has to go super further back, like a Greta Van Fleet or Rival Sons, to still be sort of interesting and have something to say in 2020 that sounds sort of like early Maiden and Priest and early Metallica, that wave of, really that 80 to 85, 86 era before everything exploded. I think was an interesting time, and I think that the bands today are really making some. There's some bands that are doing really interesting stuff. You know, it doesn't sound like they're being derivative or a copy of that era.
You're right. There are the two kinds of band. There are the bands that they want to and they try to and they succeed to sound just like the bands in the 80s, and there are people who like that. I like this, many of the bands, when they do a great job, and there are also bands that are doing things inspired by what's happening in the 80s, but with their own twist and trying to add new things. And this is also something very hard to do, because if you add too much, you can go too farther from it. But it's nice to have bands doing the two different things. And you did a great job as well in trying emulating what's happening now, because I really thought it was a new band. I wouldn't imagine that an old band like formed like in 82 doing music today, because sometimes you can tell when it's a band from the 80s playing new music. You listen to it and then you can tell it, but not with you.
Well, thank you. I mean, yeah, and like I said, I think because those songs were written back then, we didn't try to sort of go, well, what would we do? What would it sound like if it were more like Metallica? Like if we, it's like if we made it sound like this, or you know what I mean? And that's kind of how we play. And I think there's a huge part of it that our drummer Buddy is such he's so grounded in playing that way. That's how he, it's kind of how we intuitively play. And so it's what we do naturally. It's kind of, and plus we wrote those songs back then, and we're not trying to we didn't try to reimagine them as like songs that came out today. We really those are the songs we wrote from 82. I mean, I think all those songs were written between 82 and 84, because it's a concept record. It was I was really, like I said, I was really into Rush. And so we had imagined it kind of like 2112, which is how we have it numbered the way it, it's why we have it numbered the way it is, and how it had it is kind of formatically like 2112, because that's my favorite record of all time. So
I can't wait to see the physical release of the EP, because they probably are going to put the story of the album, so we can follow it through the lyrics, and also
the lyrics, you'll have the lyrics, and you'll be able to follow along, and it's as good a story I could write when I was a kid, trying to have aspirations of being one day being in the same world as Neil and Geddy and Alex.
But we're going to listen now to the last song of the EP, Kingdom of the Dead, and then we come back to one last question. now we are back, and like we were talking, you have a deal with No Remorse for the EP first, and then the full length album next year. So, what can you tell us about this full length album? I really want to know what we expect from it.
It's going to follow in the path of what the Hunter EP is. We're kicking around a title for the album, but some of the songs are Vengeance, Hang 'em High, Master of Evil, The Rights, and Blinding Force. I think people are going to feel that it's a good follow up to the Hunter, I hope, and we're really excited to record it, and hopefully this COVID thing will have passed, or at least be manageable, and we'll be able to come and do some shows, especially in Europe, and really looking forward to trying to be involved in some of the festivals out there next summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. I maybe for the next Keep It True and Up the Hammers, since No Remorse is from Greece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're looking forward. I mean, if it really just, you know, it really matters. Like, you know, if the fans appreciate it and respond by buying the record, I think we will most certainly make our way out there. But I'm hoping that the interest in the EP will spark people to be interested in owning it and having the album, you know, or the CD. It's gonna be interesting. We're gonna work hard to spread the word, and hopefully people will gravitate towards it.
Have you recorded anything yet, or just you have just the songs and the?
I have the song. We have the songs, and we have like live tapes of the songs from back in the day with our old singer. But yeah, we've got it all. I mean, it's all written. So we've played some of the songs together with the new configuration, with the new lineup. So I think it's going to be pretty exciting.
Do you have like a tentative date for the release, or I know it's something that you have to talk with No Remorse, but maybe something that you're planning in your mind?
I mean, hopefully it'll be ready for this time next year, but we'll see. I mean, you know, I believe the date of the release of the Hunter EP will be December. So hopefully, again, COVID willing, we'll be recording either in December or January, and then, you know, get everything together, because we had we really liked working with Jorg Erken, who mixed the last he mixed the last Anvil record. He produced the last Anvil record and mixed the Savage Blood record as well as ours. So just getting everybody's schedules together, and then making sure we carve out some time to give the EP some space to be on its own, and set things up with the No Remorse guys, so it has like a proper release time. I think that's going to be, you know, some of those things that we take into consideration, but it may very well be the, you know, hopefully the end of this, you know, this time next year, like September of next year, hopefully.
Yes, that's great. And if you haven't listened to the Incursion, the Hunter EP, you can check it on the channel before No Remorse release it. And then when they do, buy the album. It was a pleasure to talk to you, Max.
Thank you very much.
and I hope to see Incursion here in Europe sometime. If you go to any of the festivals here, you're going to feel in paradise. I went to my first Keep It True in 2019, and it was like perfect, heaven on earth.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I am so hoping that we can find our way onto a spot on that stage next year. It would be really, really great. And Anderson, thank you so much for everything. Your support has been immense, and you are really at the forefront of this wave. And I think everyone owes you a lot of respect and support.
Thank you so much. It's nice to hear something like this. And so, Incursion, the Hunter EP. Let's hear the outro of the album.
He was born to rule, which was something he did not take for granted. Through the years, he felt torment and outrage. To the guidance of Mother Nature and the wisdom of the greater powers, and by his blade, he has found peace. Once the unrelying outcast, now a living hero, he now has faith in others, protecting the needs and welfare of his people. He is still the chosen hunter and king of all the land.